Welcome to I Heart Geek.
And welcome to another episode of I Heart Geek. And this is the topic that I've been looking forward to. I swear I've wanted to do this one for like a year. But, you know, there's other stuff that always jumps up and on ahead. But today we get to talk about the greatest universe there is. The DC
Marvel?
animated universe. No.
Oh, so you mean the second greatest universe?
No, the greatest.
Okay.
And, well, I will say this, you know, and we'll debate this a little bit later, I'm sure.
Maybe if I feel like it.
I would say that the DC animated universe easily competes and in a lot of places destroys the Marvel live action universe.
Bold claim for somebody who isn't going to be able to back it up.
We will
This
discuss
is coming
it.
from the lady who loves Wonder Woman.
Yes, but there's a reasoning. I don't like
okay.
everything DC, just Wonder Woman.
Well, you shouldn't like everything Marvel does because otherwise that's just a cult. Okay, so I'm Dub. I'm here with Skeeter.
Not
I'm
really
here
the
with
definition
Griffin.
of a cult.
I'm here with Courtney. And I think this is going to be a heated show for some reason.
I believe the term you're looking for is Courtney is feisty.
I guess. So just a little backstory on this. If it wasn't for the DC animated universe, I would never have picked up a comic book. My love for the whole geek world would not have happened if, you know, and it starts with, as it does for most of us, the Justice Friends or Super Friends.
Super Friends.
There's 18 of those stinking things.
Meanwhile,
At the Hall of Justice.
But you know, let's I want to hit that just for a second. So when we're talking about that particular DC animated property, I don't think we can understate how important it was to comics in general. I think that was more important than the Superman movie. I think it was probably more important than Batman 1989. I really do think that, because I feel like that's when our whole generation said, you know what, let's give this comic book thing, let's check that out, because you fell in love with these little cheeseball characters. And no, it does not stand the test of time. Don't go back and watch it and say, wow, this was brilliant. It wasn't. They were half-hour horrible adventures. But it
was Saturday morning cartoons.
It was. And it was, but
it was.
Honestly, that's where my love of comics started. You know, because, I mean, that's where I fell in love with Green Lantern for the first time. And you got the Superman versus Batman kind of, you know, which one's cooler? Because as usual, you and your small friends would argue. So what was your guys' thoughts on the original Super Friends? Let's start with Griffin, since he came into it way late. So he was watching
he's
it
the youngest
sprout
in the room.
He's cute.
All right.
It's adorable.
The original Superman's, I gotta give it to gotta give it to the guy who says meanwhile back at the Hall of Justice is his name. He always used to, growing up, he would always used to make this a joke. And I can't say the rest of it, but he would always open with, meanwhile back at the Hall of Justice, Aquaman makes a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And because he can't do anything. I'll just say that. But
not true, but yeah,
yes.
We'll get to that.
No, I love Aquaman. Aquaman's great. But my introduction really, I mean, me and Dad, we watched an episode not too long ago, and we were just sitting there, we were just busting up laughing. It was really funny, and I think it's just great classic, you know, media that you just look back on, and they just pioneered the way for what we have now. And it is definitely, it didn't age well, but you know what? It doesn't. It
was
mean,
the 70s.
it's like going back and watching Adam West, you know. In the Batman, you know, it's like, just because it, you know, it didn't age well doesn't mean it. That's what makes it perfect, is that it's so cheesy and campy. And I think that's what makes it so charming now to go back and watch it. It's just like, oh, this is bad. But they didn't know it back then that it was bad, but now they know it now. And I think that's what gives it its character.
Fair enough. Courtney, what about you?
You know, I used to watch it because it was Saturday morning cartoons and it had Wonder Woman in it.
Mm-hmm.
it was not the reason I read comic books. I knew about the characters before because I think we've said this before. My grandparents owned a general store and they sold comic books. And so I would read comic books there. Yeah, I read their comic books there, and I would read comic books with my cousins, one of which is probably listening to this episode right now. Hi, Jason. And then, you'd go and you'd watch the Saturday morning cartoons. And I already loved Wonder Woman because of the comic books and because of Linda Carter. And so it's like, oh, okay. She was my gateway drug, I guess. And so, yeah, I mean, you'd get up, you'd have your cereal, and you'd watch Super Friends.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What about you, Skeet?
So before I dive in, did anybody else recognize that Courtney just said her grandparents owned a general store? Were they trading pelts when you were a kid?
No.
General stores still exist, Skeet.
They lived in rural Ohio.
I'm joking.
So.
We have general stores in Reading still, I think, in Old Shasta. If it still exists, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I'll leave that one alone.
I mean, it wasn't named the general store, but it was a general store because it had they sold lottery tickets and booze and food and books and crap like that.
I know, I'm kidding. But I think about the cartoons of they were rolling out of the Warner Brothers, Bugs Bunny, that whole cartoon era. Then you had you were trying to run through that black and white Superman thing, the live action, and you had the comic book, and they tried to make this live action comic book into this cartoony thing. So you had see, I'm going to be a bad guy, see? So you had all these people, and you tried to match a voice to a face. And then you had Superman, you had Batman, you had the superheroes, you had the villains, and you just made it, like Griffin said, campy, but still fun. And you had the heroes and the bad guys, but it was just awesome for the time. I mean, you tried to release Super Friends today. Oh my goodness. Nope, and just flop all over the place. But for the time, it was one of the greatest things that they'd done, and they continued to grow from it. It was definitely an excellent jumping point for the time.
Well, I also think we could also say that the enduring love of it, because the last Flash crossover, we got the Hall of Justice, it's now the Hall of Justice. And I remember when I was watching it with Blythe, because we watched it together, and they did the cutaway, and you saw the cage of Gleek's cage, and you heard the Super Friends theme in the background. Blythe and I just went berserk. We're like, yes, oh my God. So, I mean, it's just those little nods that they throw into the universe now to remind you of the Super Friends. It's the endearing legacy of the Super Friends.
And if you didn't tear up a little bit, you know.
You got a card to hand in, it's one of those things. So that's kind of the beginning of the DC animated universe, which, and, arguably you can say the animated universe is by far superior, at least without any arguments here, we can say, to the DC live action universe. I think the animation style that they've went with, the continuity that they've went with, the direct liftoff of the comic page onto the screen is why I think that the DC animated universe is so good. And I know none of us are DC haters, even though, you can like Marvel all you want, whatever. But the DC animated universe, I think, is as close to perfect an animated universe as you can get.
Yes.
Why do you think that it translates so well? And then sub-question, why does it not translate to the live action at all? As compared to they can get one thing so right and everything else so wrong. I feel like Courtney's got an answer to this. Go ahead, Courtney.
It's different divisions, is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Warner Brothers animation, the film animation universe division, and then there's the DC extended universe. And for the entirety, I mean, it's changed now. It's just recently changed. But before, and you could even lump in the live action TV shows, the DC live action TV shows
CW
into this world too. Yeah, the CW stuff too, because the heads of Warner Brothers said never the two shall meet. So you had different sets. You had different sets of writers and different types of artisans over doing the comic universe and even the DC TV universe in comparison to the film universe. So you had different people. You have different people running it, and you have different people's mindsets, and so it put a divide between the two of them. And so that's why, I mean, personally, I think, like, from just a writing standpoint, the writing is better, with the exception of a couple of DC films. Like the first Wonder Woman and Shazam is very, very good. Those two, I think, are, but people will fight me on that. But I think overall, the writing in DC animated features is better. The storytelling is better. Even taking out the fact that it's animated and whatnot, it's just, it's a better story. There's better stories and storytelling over there than it has been in the cinematic universe. And I think that's why it just is the way it is. It's because it's different people. They're approaching them separately instead of as one cohesive universe. Now that's changed recently because they realized they've cocked it all up and they need to fix it. But it might be too late now.
I honestly, I think they just need to let the animation studios run everything else. But neither here nor there. We'll get into more of that. Griffin, what do you think? Why do you think that what is it that you love about the DC animated universe that makes it so good?
They're not afraid to hold back. They're really, I mean, that is what I love. I mean, about most of them. I mean, really, like the storytelling, not just the talent, that's there with the artists, and the different animation styles. I mean, one of my five is Justice League: A New Frontier, which we had talked about that one last time I saw you, when you showed me, I think it was Justice League World War II.
Justice Society, yeah.
Justice Society World War II. Like it's like practically the same, pretty much the same movie, just different a little bit.
Yeah.
But I feel like the reason why the movies, and I do love the movies. I love Man of Steel. I love BVS. I love Zack Snyder's Justice League. I love those. They have serious problems as movies. But that's one thing I'm excited for about this Flash movie. Not just because Michael Keaton's coming back, which I'm super excited.
Yeah.
But the greatest thing about DC and what sticks apart from Marvel and just entertainment in general is that Marvel has spent 20 or 10, 11 years building up. Now I'm greatly surprised by the new content that's coming out from them, because it's keeping me coming back. And I didn't think I was going to be excited. Every single project Marvel has done thus far in Phase 4, I'm like, dude, they are killing it. They're not stuck in this trilogy, in this format that they're doing. Now they can do whatever they want. But to get back to the question, DC just needs to make good stories and make crazy movies, because DC is good at making Justice Society World War II. If we were talking about it, if that was a movie, they need to stop the whole Hollywood PR. Well, what about Ben Affleck? What about, we need to recast? Oh, we can't use this. Use different actors every time. Stop trying to copy Marvel and use the same actors.
Like, which they do in the animated universe. They change those guys around all the time. Except for like the Kevin Conroys, but even he's been changed around.
Yep. But that's my answer. I think that they just need to go for it. These characters are beloved, and if you make a good movie anyways with a good story, it doesn't have to be the same actors. I don't think anybody would really care,
Yeah.
But that's why.
What about you, Skeeter?
So I think like with animated universe, literally. So here's the difference. Cinematic, you're locked into ratings. Okay.
Mhm.
R rating, you're stuck. I think like we use Flashpoint. Okay, Flashpoint Paradox. Superman lays down 50 dudes with freaking heat ray, right? With his heat vision.
Mhm.
Just cuts them in half. Blah. Everywhere in the world that would be an R rating, right?
Yeah.
Freaking Batman launches 15 batarangs, kills a bunch of dudes. You get crazy action. A guy throws a guy 50 feet. I mean, you just get this really cool, these fight scenes that are just above and beyond in the animated universe.
Yeah.
That are just really, really cool that you can't get with live action without heavy, heavy CG. You're not going to get all this craziness, Thor throwing a dude, with Mjolnir, all this craziness that you get with Marvel, you're going to get that there. But you get it with Marvel because they're gods and whatnot. But with the DC universe, in the animated side, you're getting all of the fun in the animation because it's animated. It's made up. You expect it from a cartoon because it's all right here. It's not live action. To where live action, they keep it real.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep within the parameters of that movie. They keep it in the parameters of what's real.
Yeah.
I guess I kind of hit it there.
I don't want real though,
I mean,
I don't need reality all the time.
Right. But like, if you think about it, what did we get in the Snyder Cut? How did we get the Flash? How did we get these people? It was the reaction from Star Labs. It was how it happened that Barry Allen became the Flash. It was how these things happened that these people became these things.
Yeah.
To get to where they were. So, I mean, we got these powers, we got these heroes from these things. So we got this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think a big reason why the animated is so good and so loved because controversial statement, but the majority of your favorite characters are usually DC characters. Until the movies came out, nobody cared about Iron Man. Nobody really cared about Thor. I mean, they're characters you liked, but it wasn't your favorite characters. I feel like DC always has, it has your Batmans, your Supermans. I mean, I was the rare for the Green Lantern. That's not everybody, but Wonder Woman, they have the everybody's favorite characters. Now, because the animated universe gives you exactly what the character is, I think that's why they're better off. When you have the how do I want to put that? When you have the live action, it's too open to interpretation, and because it is most people's favorite character, it's hard to stand up to that. Do you agree with that, Siege, or no?
No.
No? Okay, that's fine.
Well, I agree with part of it, but I don't agree with all of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I do agree that I think DC characters are probably, as characters, they're people's favorite characters as opposed to, say, some of the Marvel ones. But I also tend to like obscure characters. So I've been a Scarlet Witch fan since back when I could start walking, but Wonder Woman's always been my favorite. But I mean, I do. Yeah, I mean, so I agree with you on that case, that point. But we've talked about we've talked about interpretation of characters before,
Mhm.
and how I think a little shifting in the way that they do things is true to comic books, because I mean, Wonder Woman's 80 years old. She's had
Yeah.
so many different incarnations and iterations and origin stories, and it's the same with I mean, Batman's pretty consistent in his origin story, but you
Pretty
know, I
much.
mean,
Except for the guns in the first issue, but yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I think that bottom line in general, I mean, across the board, that's what makes comic books so popular and accessible,
Mhm.
is because there's storylines for everybody to enjoy. And I do agree that the Disney, oh my goodness, the DC animated universe, like Griffin says, they're not afraid to just go full throttle on
Yeah.
stuff. So they've taken more risks in the stories that they tell than the movies, the DC movies have, the cinematic
Yeah.
universe has. And I think that's one of the things that we all appreciate about it, is because there's so many stories to tell over these 80-year histories for some of these characters, that the animated people just yank it
Yeah.
and splay it out there for us to see. So
Yeah, I feel like the animated gives you a lot more of, you can change the character, and this is something we've been talking about on the What If series. You can change the character, but you can't change the basis of the character. And I feel like, the DC live universe really did that. They didn't give me that was not Superman that I saw on the screen most recently. I mean, that is not the psychology of Superman. It's not the super psychology of Batman. I think that's where the animated universe, because they bring in Jeff Johns to write these new ones. They bring in all the Chuck Dixon and everybody else
Gail
from
Simone.
Gail Simone. They bring them in to write these movies, instead of, okay, well, we got Hollywood writer A. He's gonna come and he doesn't.
I
They don't
think
love the character.
well, and it's not even loving the character. I think part of the DC cinematic universe's problem is you have people who are helming the projects who don't have never read the source material,
Mhm.
or don't understand the source material.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you have to be 100% true to the comic book source material, because there's a lot out there for a lot of these characters,
Mhm.
because they've been around. But I think in the animated universe, they understand the essence
That's what I'm
of the
talking about. Yeah.
characters. And sometimes in the cinematic universe, they don't seem to quite understand the essence. And I mean,
Right.
I liked Man of Steel, and I actually think Henry Cavill is a very good Superman. I just think some of the
Decisions were
things
not
around
good, yeah.
him, like some of the script choices and some of the directorial choices
Jonathan
hindered
Kent,
him as Superman, if that makes
Yeah.
any sense. So,
Oh, completely.
but I know that we're not talking about that.
Okay, so let's discuss something else that I think DC has done very well, and I think this is something Marvel's actually copying them. Is now DC has always been very good about putting out stuff for all ages. You have your kids lines, and they have like the kitty type stuff. You have your Robin, even in the comics, like you have your Robin series, your Impulse series, Young Justice, so on and so forth. And then it grows, and then you want to get the more Frank Miller adult Batman, and the Vertigo line and all that stuff. I think that they do such a good job, and Marvel is now doing that. I will give them, on the DC, the Disney app, they have all the younger kids shows with the superheroes. DC's been doing that forever, and I think that's the only thing that's been keeping the comic book industry from, really taking the face plant that it's inevitably taking. But I think that helps, is the all ages access. What do you guys think about having with the all age access? I think it's more important than anybody's giving it credit for. But I think DC's done a pretty good job about it. What do you think, Skeeter?
I think I think they're doing a great job. As long as they, I mean, on the small screen, they're doing a wonderful job at maintaining
and that's all we're really sticking to. So yeah,
that spectrum. You look at all the streaming systems, the streaming availability from every aspect.
Yeah.
Look at HBO. I mean, HBO Max has
it's Disney
a
Plus
myriad. I mean,
for Warner Brothers.
Yeah. I mean, it has everything. But then you go to some of the other streaming services and you look at what they have as far as the kids stuff, and you're like, wow, there's a lot of things for the little kids, for that. Go to Disney Plus and all of the Marvel for the kiddie stuff, the little Spider-Man stuff, the young Marvels, the things like that. But it's not young Marvels, but it's you know what I'm talking about. But I think they're really trying to keep the comic book alive. The comic book era, us, that generation just older than us, that was really adept and really loves the comic book. Is really kind of turning to, the what am I looking for? The graphic novel. Now everybody's turning to the graphic novel more than the thin comic book, if you will. So they have to really pay attention to the audience. And I think they're doing that. I think they're doing a good job at that. Because think about it, it's a gamer universe now. So how are they focusing their attention to the gamer universe, but doing these snippet type things? So cutscene type things. Look at What If, and I texted you and said, look, what is What If? But what, to me, it looks like a conglomeration of cutscene turned into a show. All the cutscenes from a video game turned into a TV show. So I think that's what they can really do to be successful, is make the animation look like that in a book or a TV show and be successful. So
now, Griffin, I want to hit you for a second because you're the youngest. Yes, so you always get that. And you've always grown up with the comics. So do you think that the push towards the little kid stuff helped you on your journey, or did you bypass all that stuff?
I never really. There was. I remember there was one show on, and growing up as a kid, still in the streaming's only been around for, I don't know, the last
couple
few
years.
But growing up with TV and programs and shows, I remember Cartoon Network used to air this show called The Batman, and I used to watch it all the time growing up. And really, I think it depends on now. It's hard to say now with the streaming and with that kind of thing. That I don't want to make it about that, but with the shows, for me personally, it was waiting till Justice League or Justice League Unlimited came on Fox Kids early Saturday morning. That was when I was younger. Fox Kids went away,
too soon.
I think
Way
when
too
I was
soon.
I was around maybe like 8 or 9, and I never got to watch it. So that's where all the channels were, and that's where a lot of it came from. But I think definitely for sure, like people my age and kind of born around the same age and stuff, at least when the Justice League animated universe came out with Batman the Animated Series, Superman, I think all those things really influenced Static Shock. But and I'm on the very tail end of that. But yeah, for sure. Today, I don't think it's much of an impact, because you could just go and click. When I'm pretty sure kids that were my age are just they have the luxury of watching a full cinematic universe now of 25 movies instead of wishing they had that watching a show.
We had to watch Christopher Reeves doing Superman again
Yeah.
and again on VHS.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna start getting over to like some of our favorite DC animated projects. But first, we're gonna get to our listener feedback.
And now, let's see what all of our geek rock stars have to say.
Okay, so for our listener feedback, Courtney decided she's mad at me for saying that DC animated's better than Marvel, so I have to read the listener feedbacks.
I'm only little mad at your incorrect comment, but that's not why I'm not reading listener feedback.
No. So let me jump in where we didn't get a whole lot this week because I put it out at a weird time because that happens from time to time.
Yes, he did.
So sorry. We have two that I want to read. One of them is from Crystal Midget. I love saying that. That's my favorite part about doing the listener feedbacks. This guy gets to say Crystal Midget. Let's see. She said Suicide Mike. Oh, I should ask the question first. What was your favorite DC animated project and why? Crystal Midget said Suicide Squad, hands down. I love it most, if not all, the animated movies before the last year or so. Well, I want to get into that. I'm a huge Batman the Animated Series fan. I was raised in that generation. That was my serial and TV time. Suicide Squad was so engaging that it gave me the same feels, but in a more mature way. It was packed with action, had lots of laughs, and also just a compelling story with a cool twist. I hate how they butchered the first live action movie. I think we're all in there. I didn't hate it as much as some did, though. Okay, and then now we got Carl, who wanted to be here, so I just kind of took some of his list and moved it on. Carl, we miss you. So he said he gives us a couple. Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. He feels like it was really the first, and it brought a new depth to an already strong show in the Batman the Animated Series. Then he said Superman: Doomsday. Granted, it is a watered down version of the original story. I don't quite agree. It was, however, better than being cramped into a continuity based in the animated New 52 take. Why I don't agree with him, I think that it was abbreviated for time, but I don't think it was really watered down. I thought it was pretty dead on, honestly. But that's just me. And then Batman Under the Red Hood, which was, I love that one, by the way. Quite simply, the best use of a story, and if you don't know the source material, it can be quite shocking. So thank you, everybody, for your listener feedback, and yeah, we'll do more next week. And now let's jump on to the main event.
Now it's time for the main event.
Okay, so for our main event, I kind of got a little lazy. So I said, what is our top 5 DC animated projects? Kind of like we did for the listener feedback. So I'm going to start with my number 5. And I'm going to go with something that I think was very underrated. But I think it's the definitive Green Lantern tale that we've seen live or seen on TV. And that is Emerald Knights. It's an anthology of, I believe, 5 different Green Lantern stories that are not really based on Hal. It's not really Sinestro, but it gives you so much backstory. And if you watch this, you can jump into any Green Lantern series and know what's going on because it gets so much peripheral. And it's fantastic. And it makes you love the core instead of just, well, Hal Jordan or John Stewart or Kyle or blah, blah, blah. So I think that's a fantastic one. So that is my number 5. Let's go with Skeeter for your number 5.
My number 5, Teen Titans. Just so
Which
much
one?
fun.
I think that's important because they have the Japanimation-y ones and then the little more realistic and then the little kitty looking ones. So there's like 4 of them.
Probably the Warner Brothery, the most recent. I'm not a big Japanimation like Naruto style. I'm not really into that. I like the Warner Brothers version of the younger style. I like the comedy aspect of it. It's more fun. I've always liked it. Just because I like the funner aspect of the kids,
being kids.
being kids, coming into their abilities,
Yeah.
and
Their
just
training,
and
yeah.
being heroes and their training and who's training them and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed that aspect of the Titans. So very cool.
My only issue with the Teen Titans was they couldn't say Deathstroke; they had to say Slade. It's Slade Wilson. I thought that was ridiculous because that show was pretty violent, and they couldn't get away with saying Deathstroke.
Right.
Okay, Griffin, let's go with your number 5, sir.
All right, my number 5 is got to be Batman Under the Red Hood.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So why?
It was number 1 for so many years. Because I never heard of the story. I'd never read I never read Death in the Family when it first came out. So I remember this is when Netflix just jumped. God, streaming, I swear. This is when Netflix jumped over from the DVDs to the actual streaming, and I remember watching it. I was about like 11 or 12. And it got me. It got me into filmmaking. It was the first script I wrote. Was my own version of Under the Red Hood, and and that's why it's so special to me. It got me into script writing and things
very
like that.
cool. Yeah, that was such a fantastic story, and it was so true to the comic book. I thought, and I don't know if you guys know the editor in chief at that time when that comic came out. The one that made the decision to bring Robin back was Judd Winnick. Now, you may not know who that is, but if you watch The Real World season 2, he was Judd on The Real World. That he became the man at DC for a while. If you were curious, he actually did some really good work. Courtney, what is your number 5?
Flashpoint Paradox, but I'm not going to talk about it because I know it's in somebody else's top 5. So I think it's yours, Dub. So I'll let you.
What? Let's talk about it now.
Let's
talk about it now.
Okay.
We'll just kind of go through it. Okay. So what is it about? And again, this is a
Flash
movie.
Screws everything up.
This movie should have been 2 movies because this was a huge event in the comic books, and there was like 100 offshoot comics that you could have gotten and they gave you a nice little piece of it, but I really wish it could have been a dual. You have the main Flashpoint one and then one that's just all anthology of all the stories around. That's the only thing that would have made me happier.
Yeah. I just liked it because you got to see the characters in a different light because they are different people now. Like Wonder Woman for me, because that's why I talk about, guys, deal with it. She's terrible. She's terrible.
Evil.
Like, she cuts Mira's head off. Spoilers. And there's also the other stuff, but it's just it's dark and it's gritty, and it's a lot like what Griffin said earlier. It's truly the DC animated universe just going full throttle and not holding back. So that's why I like number 5, Flashpoint Paradox.
I would say Flashpoint is, I put that way above What If, because it's kind of the same thing, just they gave a little bit more conducive to the storyline. But this What Ifs were so much fun. Again, you get to see characters for a little while go against their nature, so you can see that without anything being permanent. And that's what I like in these alternate telling type things. So let's see. Let's go with I'm going to say the Suicide Squad, number 4. The Suicide Squad.
Oh wait, number 5 still. Sorry. Oh wait, is it number? Oh, it is number 4.
I'm now on number 4. The Suicide Squad. The first one, not the second 2, because those weren't. I didn't like those 2 animated ones, but the first one was just a fun, 15 years and older type episode, because there was a lot of more adult content. It was true to Suicide Squad and what we've seen. I liked seeing Floyd as Floyd again. after seeing the Suicide Squad movie. I liked this take on Harley. I liked. I wanted to see more of KG Beast, but this was just such a fun episode all the way. If you're not into Suicide Squad, it was a great introduction to what they really are. And we got Fat Waller. I'm sorry, I do not like Skinny Waller. That bothers me. I like the Wall. That is who that character is. I don't like hot looking Amanda Waller. Yeah. What did you guys think of that Suicide Squad movie? Because I know that we've all watched that one at least a little bit. You haven't seen that one, Courtney?
Nope.
You would love this one. I'm telling you, as your friend, you would like this one a lot.
I might eventually, but I haven't yet.
Oh,
Don't hate me, listeners.
It's on HBO Plus.
The newest new one?
No, the first one.
Oh.
Yeah. I think it was just a fantastic run all the way around. Okay, so let's see. Who's first? Griffin, number 4.
You're on mute, Griff.
I'm on mute. So my number 4 has to be Justice League: A New Frontier, which is not a popular movie by any means.
No,
but I remember watching it, and it was just so different. I was like, "This is so weird," but I love it. Sometimes if you get something good all the time, you don't know what it's good. You don't know if it's good, and it's so annoying having the same continuity in the same universe and the same this and that, and like that's why What If is such a breath of fresh air, because it's like it's not a part of the continuity. It's just, oh, what if this happened? Okay, end the episode. It's all right. That's cool. That was what if it happened, and I love that. Because that's the same thing with this Justice League movie, is that what if you saw everybody's origin story all at the same time, all in one event, but back in the 40s? Like, and I was like,
so retro.
This is so cool. And I'm a sucker for retro and vintage stuff. So I'm like, hey, I love it. But yeah, it's not the best, but it's one of my favorites.
And it was the last project that Darwin Cook was directly involved with. And that's a freaking legend in the industry. I know I'm getting into comic books more than movies, but that is a legend. And you can see his fingerprints all over this movie. Just fantastic. Skeeter, what is your number 4?
My number 4 is my childhood Aquaman. Because I mean,
that one season run they had?
One season run of the whoop, 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 talking to fish. Just
he gets such a bad rap. I don't think he's
orange and green.
I loved it. I had the toy.
I mean, a superhero that could use sea life to do anything. I mean, Arthur Curry, he was the guy. Yeah. Like, I mean, why not? Why not? And that's why he literally, and everybody makes fun of me. Everybody makes fun of me. Aquaman is hands down, like, everybody knows me as the Superman's my guy, but always has my heart will be Aquaman.
Yeah.
Forever.
And I love what he's evolved into. I'm not going to lie, ultra powerful, all that. But growing up, everyone talks about representation. That was me. That was a blonde haired guy. That was like cool. And everybody hates him. This sucks. But yeah, that was like my one character that I'm like, that's awesome. That's me, Yep. Let's see who we on. Courtney, we are on you for number 4.
So continuing the Aquaman love, my number 4 is Throne of Atlantis.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like it, but I loved the run. I loved the comic book run, so I was super excited when the movie came out. And then the movie is it's the comic book come to life, and I love that it it centers on Aquaman, and it's like the war in Atlantis, and I just like it. So that's my number 4, Throne of Atlantis.
It gave him a great amount of humanity too.
Mhm.
More of a, and it gave Mira a lot of love, which I would have liked to even more so, but
I'd like to
yes.
cut in real quick.
Please.
Mira is also played by one of me and Dad's good friends, who was like my mentor growing up when I wanted to be an actor, Sumali Montano. So yeah, we know Mira. So
Well, that's pretty
that's a
cool,
great,
actually.
yeah.
Yeah, I think Mira fares better in the DC animated universe than she does in
I'm not a fan of
the
everything.
cinematic universe.
We'll
So
leave that one
that's the
alone
other
because that's going to get
that's
ugly.
that's the other reason I like Throne of Atlantis, and I even to a point Flashpoint, because Mira is one of my favorite DC characters, and I'm so thus far been rather disappointed in her live action world.
But before I go on a Brie Larson-esque rant for Amber Heard, we'll move on. I like her about as much. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe she's better. Maybe not. I don't know. Okay, so my number. You are giving me the stink eye, Courtney. Oh my
Because you
God.
made fun of my Brie Larson again.
It's easy. Okay, so we're on number 3. Because Flashpoint already got taken, I'm going to give a missed opportunity. This is the negative for me. So this is kind of my anti number 3, and that was The Killing Joke. One of the best DC stories ever told, and then that was one of the few they screwed
it up.
I mean, that is
disrespectful.
It was disrespectful. The Batgirl and Bruce thing was not okay. The musical number was weird. There's just, and yes, that is such a dark story. I think they were afraid. You have to be afraid of that story, but if you can't tell it, don't.
Right? Don't even do it.
Yeah. So I just wanted to give.
I didn't understand that either until Griffin. Like, I was watching it one day and I was off, and I put it on, and Griffin come walking into the living room, and he's like, "Just stop, Dad. Please stop." And I'm like, "Why? This is great." And he goes, he just unplugged the TV. I was like, "Whoa, what
At
the
least he didn't
heck,
throw the
dude?"
comic book at your head.
Read
Like,
that.
That's probably what I would have done.
Like, I thought he was going to, but yeah, that came next.
Yeah.
So no, and then I read it and I was like, "What?"
One of the greatest
heck was
stories
I
ever
doing?
told in DC.
Yeah, no.
It is.
Period. So dark and evil, and that the train at the end. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Two things I'm glad I read was that and Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader.
That's a pretty good one too.
Yeah, I like
Griffin,
that one.
you're number 3.
My number 3 is definitely. Let me get it right now. My number 3 has to be Justice League, the animated series. Kevin Conroy, Phil Lamar.
Yeah.
Just because they made the characters iconic, which for whatever reason, I mean, Kevin Conroy's Batman, and then it switched to Troy Baker, and then like it does that from now on. But like,
Yeah.
I want to see like Phil Lamar's John Stewart. He made me love John Stewart. Like, is my Green Lantern.
He's never been a likable character to me.
Right. Yeah. But like, there's like definitive roles that like they did in that show that we just haven't seen since that show. And I don't know, I just feel like it's a great staple, and I don't know. Yeah, that's my number 3. I don't know what else to say. I think everybody else feels the same kind of
between Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. I would say that it's literally the perfect animated series. That's the only series that I'd put above the 90s X-Men. That's the only one. So that says a lot. But we're talking DC. So, Skeeter, what is your number 3?
My number 3, which I want to go ahead and disclaim now that these are in no particular order. I can't. I mean, it's so hard because I am a DC fan. I can't put these in any order because they would all be number 1. And I'm going to again preface this by saying, may he rest easy. But today would be Christopher Reeve's 69th birthday. if he was still with us. But Super Friends is my number 3. My goodness, like
Yeah, the importance of it can't be understated.
There was nothing wrong with this ever. Like, this was something that brought comic books to life. It wasn't the bang, pow, pop, ka-chow, Adam West Batman. It was a cartoon. It was
a comic book come to life.
It was a comic book come to life. It had all of these people behind me.
Yeah.
It was this right here. It was amazing. It had every villain on this side and every superhero on this side, including that lady right there.
For those of you who are just listening and not watching,
dude right there. Oh yeah.
Skeet's background is the Justice League. Is the Justice League.
Is the Justice
the Hall
League.
of Justice.
It's the Hall of Justice in the very back. And like, I forget that we have listeners too, but like,
we have more listeners than viewers, just FYI. So we love you listeners. Just wanted to say that.
Yes, we love you listeners. So check us out on YouTube as well. But the most amazing part of Super Friends was it got you out into seeing your comic book come to life.
Yeah.
And it made you more of a fan, and it took you back into your comic book, and you were like, oh, this is real. So it just made it so much better, and I love it, and I still love it today. That's why I'm such a geek.
And again, it's not because it's so perfect now, but because at its time it was perfect.
Mm-hmm. It was. And the voice, meanwhile, was the guy from
Too Close for Comfort.
Too Close for Comfort.
And Mary Tyler Moore. And
yes.
a bunch of other stuff.
Yes. You had to love him. And
Courtney?
Caddyshack.
Oh, you're so evil in that one. But that's another show altogether. Courtney, let's hear your number 3.
Batman the Animated Series. Because you'd come home from school and you'd watch it, and it gave us Conroy, it gave us Mark Hamill as the Joker, it gave us the first introduction of Harley Quinn. There was just a lot going on. And it was just Saturday. It was that after school, before you had to do your homework, you got to watch Batman the Animated Series.
And unlike Justice League, this was better on subsequent views. The more you watch it, the better.
Yeah, it's still good. It's still good.
I recommend it's on your HBO if you guys got HBO. Check it out. It is complete. Give it another full watch through. Take a couple weeks. You will not be sorry. It's so good. And I say the more mature you get, the better it is. My number 2 is the show that's still running, Young Justice. I don't know why I love this show so much, but it's everything that I liked about Justice League. I feel like they let the characters grow up enough that it's still good no matter where you are on it. I think that the voice acting is just superb. I love the animation style. Again, this is why we love DC's. That animation style is just beautiful. Vibrant colors without overboard. Really in-depth storytelling. It's everything I want in a comic book, period. Griffin, what is your number 2?
My number 2 is Young Justice.
Very good.
Yes, and for literally everything you said. It had been popular for a few years, and I never got into it. And then it was on Netflix, and I was about 15, and I was like, you know what? The first 2 seasons are out. Let me watch this, and I binged them in 2 days, and I was like, I love this.
Yeah, the new season is coming out. I believe this year. By the way, guys, just makes me happy. And let's see what we have. Skeeter now.
Let's see. We're at number 2.
Number 2,
Justice League Unlimited. There was you had JLA, you had so many different
And
Justice
everybody,
Leagues, you know, all over the
JSA,
place, and I was just like, where do we go? Who do we go to? And I think Justice League Unlimited kind of kept it real. Um, they kept the continuity. They kept the things we needed. As far as that whole Justice League piece, the bads were still bad. All of our villains were good. You know, I'm not good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we had the right. The just everything was right with the world with Justice League Unlimited. Um, and
so much of the
you
question.
know, yeah,
So
and it
much.
Aquaman
just
with the harpoon.
yeah,
with
Aquaman with the
the one
harpoon.
hand, yeah, it was
Mhm.
perfect.
So it
Very
just
good.
did really good. So
Yeah.
I liked it. It was great.
Courtney?
Wonder Woman Bloodlines.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I really like that film. I know it's a controversial choice because I know that there's people who don't.
I don't dislike it.
I also really I like Rosario Dawson as the voice of Wonder Woman. I think she really captures the essence of Diana, I think. Of all of the voiceover actresses who've done her over the years, I think she might be my favorite. And I think that's probably part of why I like Bloodlines so much.
Very good. Okay, so my number one is probably the most controversial movie that DC has made. Batman: The Dark Knight, parts 1 and 2. Or Dark Knight Returns, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, they did not pull any punches whatsoever. If you get offended by anything, don't watch it. They actually had the real scene with the hateful German symbol over the woman's parts. And they didn't pull any punches. They went for this movie, and it's old Batman, and I love it. It's just perfect storytelling. It was the comic book that really lit the comic industry on fire.
I
Check
hope
it out.
that's the Batman we're going to see when Keaton returns in Flashpoint.
Oh God, I hope so.
I hope that's, but
Oh,
that's just me because I would
I
like
wanna
to see Keaton play
yeah.
Dark Knight Batman, but that's just me.
I was watching it last night, and I'd seen it before, but I just have to point out the one
Brutal
thing.
death
It
was
gave me goosebumps, but literally he's sitting in his chair and he's watching all the crimes, and he's walks outside on his balcony, and you just hear, oh, first of all, the voice talent. Are you serious?
Mhm.
RoboCop. No one ever would have thought, but he is incredible.
Yeah.
And so, but
Peter
he walks
Weller?
outside.
Yeah, Peter Weller.
Yes.
Mhm.
And he is fantastic. And he walks outside and he like leans over the edge, and all you hear in his deep, like gravelly Batman voice, he says, "You thought you could hide me." And I was like, oh, and the lightning strikes. It's just so good. All right.
And
I'm done.
that ending scene with him and Joker, there's not a more perfect ending for Joker, period. Point blank. None. I mean, no matter, you can retcon it all you want, that was perfection. And Batman on a freaking horse. Yes. Okay. I'm sorry, I'll stop. Griffin, what is your number one, sir?
My number one, it goes with two. I mean, Batman the Animated Series, but more specifically, Batman Mask of the Phantasm is so. I love the noir-esque like feel vibe. That's just me. That's my thing. I love the storytelling with that. I'm That's why I'm so excited for Matt Reeves the Batman, because he was saying he was taking inspiration from the animated series, which everybody does, but it's like
Everybody says they do.
when I watch Christopher Nolan's movies, which are great in their own, if Batman was real,
that's not
but
Batman.
that's not personal me. I like the noir, dark, gritty, fables, comic book style Batman. I don't want a realistic take on Batman. I'm sorry. Christopher Nolan did it, and they're great in their own mind. I didn't like them until somebody said, no, this is if Batman was real. And I'm like, oh my, that's so good. And then, but I stopped comparing it to the comic book ones because I was like, okay, that's
that story's been told.
Yeah. I don't want any more of it. I straight up want a detective story. And if Matt Reeves delivers, I hope he does. But that's why. The animated series, The Batman Mask of the Phantasm, the scene where, if those who haven't seen it, he says where he never thought he would be happy because he falls in love. And he's just at his parents' grave, like asking them for like permission to have a normal life.
Yeah.
Instead of be Batman. It's just so good. It's so rich. I love it. It's my favorite. Number one.
Skeeter, your number one?
So, the red glass queen in the corner has already said it. It was her number 3. My number 1, the way that fear was portrayed on the little kids' faces, the way that the Dark Knight was portrayed, the voice of the Batman, the voice of the Joker, all of the voices in Batman the Animated Series, the way everything was done. My son reintroduced me to this, as Courtney eloquently said, was the after school, pre-homework, post-homework, no homework cartoon of our day. Was just phenomenal. I loved every moment that we could watch this show. Griffin reintroduced me to it, and we've literally 10 o'clock at night, him and I all walk back out to my chair and be like, hey, Griff, let's catch an episode real quick. And we're watching them in order all over again.
Nice.
And it's just, I mean, to see the Penguin again, to see Scarecrow again, and hear those voices, like it's just childhood all over again. 8th grade, 9th grade, replaying with my kid, which is awesome. And that's the best part of being a geek, of being part of this family, of being, of living this dream all over again. So I love it. That's why it's my number 1.
Courtney, what is your number 1 that has nothing to do with Wonder Woman? I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Sorry, I don't have an answer then.
I didn't think you did.
It's Wonder Woman. It's the one with Nathan Fillion as Steve Trevor and Kerry Washington as Wonder Woman. And I will let everybody in a little secret, is the first animated DC movie I ever watched, because I never watched any of them. But our friendly neighborhood Kaj gave it to me for my birthday one year. And then I fell down the DC animated movie rabbit hole because of that movie. And it's a fun origin story for her. But I also, as compared to 1984, Wonder Woman 1984, the fights with Cheetah are so much better in this movie. Well, I said it when we did the show with Wonder Woman 84, is I felt we were cheated out of Cheetah. We needed way more Cheetah, because I love Cheetah. But you get more of her because she's the big baddie in this one. And so and I cannot for the life of me remember who the voice actor is for Cheetah, but she's perfect. And it's just, she's fights perfect. Are good. I mean, they're smacking each other around in the middle of the street, and it's fun. It's a lot less dark than the other ones on my list.
Oh, and that is a show, and I feel like we missed so much. We missed all like Batman and Son, and we missed Babel and War, and I need to go.
I almost put War on my list.
So good.
And Gods and Monsters, but I
thought that was supposed to be on somebody's list.
Gods and Monsters was supposed to be, but I put Batman the animated series instead. So honorable mention.
Buy Green Lantern the animated series. Go buy HBO for 2 months and just binge everything.
Watch everything.
It'll make you happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a series coming.
Check out the website, www.iheartgeekshow.com. Use the code. We paid extra for it. Go to our Instagram and our Discord and our Twitter and our everything, our smoke signals and our TikTok. And
Patreon.
Patreon. Do the Patreon. Do the Facebook. Talk to us on Facebook. We will talk back. And until next time, I'm Dub. I'm here
Comment
with Skeeter.
on YouTube.
Please comment, like, subscribe, send it to your friends. This will
do some stuff.
Yep. Dub here with Skeeter, with Griffin, with Courtney. Keep on geeking on, guys.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.